Hello, welcome to my series about all Chopin's music. Today I open a new chapter and I'm going to talk about the Polonaises. The first Polonaise which I have for you is a piece originally written for piano and orchestra called Andante Spianato and Grande Polonaise Brillante in E flat major opus 22. But there is also a version, much more popular version for piano solo, also written by Chopin and played by him. And I'm going to talk about this version for you today. Before I start to talk about Polonaise and what it is, I just play for you a little bit of this magnificent introduction called Andante Spianato. What a fantastic introduction to the Polonaise which follows. Why Polonaises? Well, of course, Polonaise, from the title, is the Polish dance, but it was not only written. Sorry, not. I'm still in the world of Andante Spianato. I can't focus now. I have to get back to the reality. But that's the thing. This music is from another world. I feel like as a performer, as I'm in another planet, and now I have to slowly come back. As you saw, I wanted to play for you a little bit, and I couldn't stop playing. That's the thing, what's going on with this piece. So I hope this video will not be too long, and I try to stop myself from playing this again, because I can't stop. But anyway, going back to the topic. Johann Sebastian Bach wrote some Polonaises. Even Ludwig van Beethoven wrote a Polonaise. So not only Polish composers wrote Polonaise, but the origin of the Polonaise is Poland, Polish national dance. This was a Polish national dance, which there is a big difference between Polonaise and mazurkas, for example, because Polonaises were danced by aristocracy, by high-class people. So it's a high-class national Polish dance, full of proudness, full of nationalistic feelings, we can say. It was extremely important in 19th century because that time we didn't have, Polish people didn't have our country. We were under occupancy, split it into 3 different countries, and well, it was like that for 123 years. So when Chopin was born, there was no Poland on the map of Europe. When Chopin died, there was still no Poland in the map of Europe. So Chopin's biggest dream in his life was to have the free Poland, and we know it from his letters. Very often he was writing to his family, to his friends, that he has a dream that one day he will play in the free Warsaw, he will play a concert, he will play for them, and he even chose the piece, this is interesting, which he wanted to play at his first recital, at his first concert in the free Warsaw. The piece was, you would never believe it, Allegro de Concert. So the piece which now is not played. But Chopin considered this masterpiece as a really great piece of music, and he wanted to play it in Warsaw, free Warsaw. Anyway, so this is one thing. Chopin written Polonaise is Chopin feeling Polish, missing his country, and most of all feeling proud of being Polish. This is quite important because this is the way, if you are Polish, it's you understand in a way if you know the history. We usually know our history. But if you are not Polish, I think it's worth it to get to know some Polish history, to know how to play Polonaises. But I will talk about it more in the next series when I talk about other Polonaises, because this very Polonaise is different. First of all, Chopin wrote this Polonaise when he was still in Poland, when he was 20 years old, more or less. He was deeply in love, and he wanted to show off his technique, and he wanted to write a piece for piano and orchestra to present it himself, to show his piano skills and compositional skills to the world, of course. In fact, Polonaise was written first. In one very funny letter to his friend, Chopin writes something like this. I began to compose a Polonaise with orchestra. But now it's just the ning without B. So not beginning, but well, ginning. Let's say ginning. It's just ginning. I have the ginning, but I don't have the B, wrote Chopin. Of course, he wrote it in Polish, so it's just the translation. Well, the B is Andante Spianato, which I just played for you. Ginning is the Polonaise, which I'm going to play it after we finish with Andante Spianato. The Andante Spianato, which I just played for you, is supposed to be written later, even maybe 4 years later. For me, well, it might be, but the spirit of this music is still young and in love Chopin. Chopin, who writes nocturnos for love of his life. Or this one, when he imagines her, how she sings this beautiful melody, right? And full of love. And so is Andante Spianato. We know that Felix Mendelssohn, for example, was astonished by the way how Chopin played this Andante Spianato. He said to Robert Schumann, actually, and Robert Schumann writes that Mendelssohn wrote a very poetic statements about how Chopin played the Andante Spianato for him. For Mendelssohn, it reminded the view of the garden with people who are strolling slowly, without talking, through the garden, through the waterfalls, or the springs of water, and very, very exotic birds. Very beautiful way of interpretation. And so it is. Well, for me, I agree with that. But definitely there is a feeling of water, of flowing, right? The left hand brings the peace. And then we have the solo melody, which calms our souls. For me, it's like a massage for the soul, if I can say so. And for me, I can't stop thinking about the Chopin, thinking about the singer. So the girl he loved, singing this melody. Soprano. And as we know, the Chopin, he was the best in playing soft, piano pianissimo, very soft, and changing the color. This is the way how we should try to achieve it. We should try to change the color. And this melody, what I wanted to say also a little bit about is the style Brillante. The style Brillante, very famous in this time, in which this style, this piece is written. The characteristic of this style was embellishments, a lot of embellishments. I like to compare this style to the Rococo style in architecture. When you see the Rococo pieces of art, there are so many embellishments and ways of the flowers and all these very beautiful little things that it's too many of them, so we don't know in which we should look. Very, 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 very beautiful. And a lot of it. The same is in music. And now I show you these Rococo moments, Rococo fragments in this melody. The second time melody. The first embellishment. And now the second embellishment. Instead of this, we have something like this. So these fast little notes, they are not written really to show off the technique, although they also show off the technique, but they are not written. They are mostly written for to embellish the main skeleton of melody. So in Chopin's music, they sound very elegant and very light and extremely beautiful. And for Mendelssohn, probably this was the water. This was the first melody. Then there is the same melody but in minor. And here I personally hear and see the dialogue of two people. First one. Then second one, answer. And now they are talking with each other. First one, second one. First one, second one. And first one, finally up. And now again the rococo and water. Fantastic way of the piano music. Using the piano to it the most. It's like almost like a Claude Debussy music. Impressionistic, very impressionistic. And we are coming back to the beginning. And now we will have more embellishments. And again embellishment. And again embellishment. And new embellishments, so all the time the still Brillante. And very, very sophisticated embellishment. Look how many notes. Slow there. If it's played very light and very fast, it's just like this rococo style. And now this brings us to the first climax. And from this moment, the first theme which we love so much disappears and will never come again. Never. It will not appear again. Here we are like in a dream. I like to consider here myself dreaming, sleeping. Only here I hear some bell. Four notes of bell. Well, this is written by Chopin. It's not my interpretation. He writes accents here, which means this note you have to play louder. In all this piano pianissimo, very mysterious sounds in a dream, we hear one sound of the bell. Not every pianist play like this. Some pianists are tempted to show the melody which is in the thumb, which sounds like this. Maybe you are used to this kind of interpretation. Because indeed there is a melody in the bass, but the problem is that Chopin doesn't want this melody to be loud. He shows in the score, please play the accent on the D, so on the note. So in my opinion, I respect this very much, so I try to show this bell. Come back to another world of dream. And this part for me is more folk, more like even like mazurka, a little bit like we are dreaming of Poland, of being and dancing. This is not the Polonaise rhythm. Yam ta ta ta, yam ta ta ta. going back to the dream. So as if the time went backwards and we are again and bells. It really seems like the time went backwards because now again we are in the dancing. But instead of playing all this middle part again, we only play the first phrase and then we end every all the piece. We are so happy. This music brings the happiness. It was always a huge success when Chopin performed it. He even performed it in his last years when he visited Great Britain, and he played it in London and Manchester. People loved the way he plays, and it was a huge success for him. Unfortunately, shortly after, he died. But this is said. Now let's go to the very happy music. Polonaise Brillante. So we will have a lot of this style of Brillante style, and I want to focus on this today because the piece is extremely long. So, well, my idea is to, if this lecture is to be useful for you and not a waste of time, let's say, I think what I want to do is I want to show you the structure of the piece, like a map. I will draw a map and I show you, of course, the beauty which is inside from my point of view, the pianist and musician. But most important is this map, because when we listen to this piece, of course, we love it. Of course, it's extremely effective and we are astonished by the character, by the virtuosity, lightness, and the dancing rhythm and beautiful melodies, everything. But at the same time, we are a little lost when it comes to the themes, because there are so many of them. There's a lot of them. So I think maybe it's better to know where we are while we are listening. And hopefully, after finishing this video, if you manage to listen to all of it, when you will listen to the whole piece, you will listen to it in a little bit different way. So now fasten your seatbelts and let's start. You have to be very focused, but I try to make it as easy as possible. The piece is very long, that's true. But we can split it to make it easier to understand into 3 parts, let's say. Big part A, very big part B, and part A again, and then the ending, Coda, from Italian, the tail, Coda, very virtuosic ending. The ending had to be, because that's how all the pieces in the style Brillante was written. So it's a very typical Brillante style piece of music. Of course, we also have short introduction. The introduction is played by the orchestra. In the solo piano version, of course, the pianist is playing the orchestra part. That's why it's different, because we have a lot of chords. Chords means a lot of notes played together. But everything starts from the signals. Played by horns. So, we immediately know that this is going to be a Polonaise because of the Polonaise rhythm. The typical Polonaise rhythm is pam, pa pa pam, 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 pam. So we have the ta ta tam. We have 3 fast notes and 1 long. Yam, pa pa pam, pam. This is how we dance. Every Polish person knows how to dance Polonaise. We have on 3. We have 3 steps. 1, 2, 3, and the first step is longer. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. That's how we dance with a little bow at the first. This makes it. It's very important when the pianist plays the Polonaise, because 1 must always be longer. We need time to make a bow. So 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. This will come with the first theme. But now, introduction. Wow! Then the silence, and then change the character. Pizzicato. Pizzicato in the orchestra, of course very light, and then the solo piano starts the first theme. Okay, and every Polish person when hears this piece immediately knows that this is the Polonaise, because it contains everything typical for the Polonaise. First of all, the rhythm. 1, 2, 3, pam, pa pa pam, pam, pam. 1, 2. We can dance that. It's very easy. Second of all, a kind of proud melody. But melody which here, well, this is the young Chopin before the uprising against Russia. So before all the drama which happened in Poland, Chopin is still very happy. And this piece is not that military, I would say. It's not that fighting. It's more a burst of happiness and of course proudness, but this kind of young enthusiasm, love towards life and everything, and just happiness. So we have this very, very elegant melody and very funny at the same time, and light. It's not heavy. And also the ending of this first melody, because the ending of every phrase, longer phrase in the Polonaise, was supposed to always be like this: ta 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 pam. So very short notes and 2 long notes, ta 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 pam. Because on these long notes, when we dance, we make a very long bow, ta 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 tam. So we go down and up, and everything is here. The end. Well, let's listen again, and let's analyze this phrase, because there is a lot of, I call them stupid notes. Well, the notes which doesn't fit to the melody. This note is a wrong note, but it's not because I made a mistake. It's because it's written. It is written on purpose, because it must be funny. It's like we made a mistake and we went in a big building. We mistake the floor, and we are knocking to the door, but we are on the wrong floor, and somebody open us and we don't know this person, and we say, oh, I'm sorry, it must be a wrong floor, I have to go up. Yes, indeed, we are in a wrong floor, 2 down. This is the correct note. Okay? Now we are in the wrong floor, but up. finally we are in the good flow. So if it were written without these bad notes, it would have sounded like this. Well, cheap music, I would say, definitely it's not Chopin. But I want to show you that the whole beauty of this part is just to use these wrong notes here in the first melody. Then the second, then there is a short, well, a little bit different phrase, which is based on the contrast. First we have somebody proud, very typical Polonaise, yam, pam, 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 and immediately after that somebody is laughing. And again the second time. And again somebody laughing. A lot of notes, can you hear? This is to make it more difficult, right? But what I love in Chopin, and what we don't have in the music of other pianist virtuoso composers like Liszt, Thalberg and others at that time, is that all the difficulty is composed and is connected with the beauty. That's something very important, because Chopin is different. He doesn't want to show off only the difficulties. He wants to put the difficulties into the beauty. That's how fantastic it is written. So this part, and then something else again. And now the ending, ta 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 tam. Can you hear? Tam, ta, 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 tam. Exactly like it's written. So very Chopin knew how to write Polonaise, and he writes exactly how it should be. After that we have, let's say, part B, small b, in this big part A. We will have another melody which also is based on the contrast. There is one person, which maybe a lady, which is sad, a little sad, melancholic, but still very elegant. And there is somebody else who is trying to cheer her up, is very jumping, very joking, and extremely happy. This contrast, these two parts, they don't fit together. But this is Chopin. Everything fits fantastically. Just listen how beautiful and funny this part is. We have the sad part. And then somebody who is trying to cheer. And again the sad. And again the happy. Again this part, just to absorb it better. Sad. And then different. Especially here. Padam, 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 padam. Very jumping, happy. And again very sad. And again happy. What happened next is these two persons hold their hands and they start to dance together. Why together? Because we have two notes at the same time. Right, so very elegant. This is the moment which pianists hate. The thirds and the trill. Extremely difficult moment. Well, this one need to practice. Chopin wrote the whole etude, which is based on this thirds, and it starts from this trill. And everything is, you know it, I'm sure you know it, and all the right hand, every time right hand, all the time throughout the piece is just playing in thirds. Well, that's quite a demanding piece. It's only 2 minutes long, but we have to practice it months. Half a year or a year, depending on the pianist, of course. But anyway, here we have, again, it's very difficult, but it's hidden in the beauty, in the flowers. Wonderful. And again, this melody, now it's variated, rococo style, with fast notes. Instead of, we have something like this. And now we are coming back to the A, to the beginning, the first melody. So what I want to now to show you is that this big part A in the Polonaise has its own structure, which is ABA. Now we have part, well, ABA prime, ABA1. So we have now A prime, which is the same melody, but embellished in a fantastic way, which I want to show you now. Do you remember the first theme? The second part of this melody is fantastically embellished. Listen. And now, how many notes? It's fantastic. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. 25 notes of embellishment. Of which melody? This. Right? This is incredible. And now? And there's so much elegance. It's so elegant. And now the second phrase. Again, embellishment. Again. And now fantastic embellishment. Again. Let's listen again to the whole embellished theme 1. And now this second part, somebody proud and then laughing, somebody laughing at him. Here in the first time we had the bow, tam ta 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 tam. In the second time we have something else which will connect the bridge, which will connect us to part B of the Polonaise. This was played by the orchestra. We can hear. Now part B starts. Now let's talk about part B. Part B is very long and it contains a few melodies, few different parts. and it starts from the introduction. Very powerful, virtuosic introduction when Chopin is using a different kind of technique, which usually was used by Franz Liszt, octaves in both hands. So very powerfully. And second time. This is very easy when you listen to the whole piece. It's quite easy to catch because we have the melody, beautiful melody again. Like a woman in love. A woman appeared and she's in love. And in the left hand we still have always the Polonaise rhythm. Wham, pa pa pam, 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 pam. And now embellished rococo. Can you hear so many notes? Fantastically written. So this is the melody number 1 of part B. Listen again. And now here, this is not so important this moment, because we only have this for quite some time. Chopin wants us to rest a little bit before he presents us another melody. So we have the rest. And then again another fantastic moment. Before presenting us very touching, a little deeper and sad melody, Chopin puts a pure technical showing off. First by very fast notes in both hands, and after that again octaves, powerful octaves. So we are knocked down by the capabilities of pianist. We are absolutely on the floor by the technical abilities of the performer, and after that Chopin opens the soul and touch our heart by the beautiful melody in C minor, so in a very sad key. But this sadness is different from the sadness, if you know later Chopin, from the sadness of Chopin, who left Poland and who is after the war and who lost his friends and who is missing his country and who is depressed. This is sadness written by still 20 years old man with his family in his country. So listen, first the technical showing off and then the beautiful melody. And we are in melody number 3. Okay. Very beautiful, long, heartbreaking, we can say, or very touching melody, which I just presented for you, is the center part of this Polonaise. It is important, definitely important. It's not so manly, we can say, not so masculine. It brings the sadness, maybe the sadness of Chopin or his love before he left Poland, because he already knew that he's going to leave Poland, so kind of saying bye-bye. Well, and this melody brings us to the climax. You've heard this climax. It starts from here. And here. Now. Here we have a lot of, like a suffering a little bit. And this fantastic limited. Again, very, very soft embellishment. And now we are in the third melody of part B, the last one, which will bring us back to A. But this part brings huge difficulties to the pianist, and Chopin has no mercy whatsoever. First, he writes in the right hand the passage which would be already difficult for both hands. For both hands. I show you this part. Usually we practice it at school when we are young. We practice and we hate it, but it's useful, as you will see. But anyway, here it's not so useful because we have to play it. We have to play this with one only hand, because left hand, of course, has the Polonaise rhythm. Polonaise rhythm, extremely difficult passages, and afterwards something like I like to compare it to somebody or some bird who is just flying with the wings opened, just flying like this, and after that a very long bow. So many things. So first this very difficult moment, then the flying, and then the long and elegant bow, and then again the same phrase, but this, the difficult moment, is changed, and Chopin has no mercy, and he make us to play it faster and faster notes, but thanks God not both, not two notes in the one hand. Instead of this, we have this. We have the passage, the arpeggio, but we have it faster. And then, so this is repeated twice, but of course 2 times differently. Just listen and enjoy. Maybe I start from this. And now flying. And now the long bow. And again. Again flying. And now is the final part, which brings the huge culmination. Listen, just building the culmination. beginning of the piece. Bow. Sad melody. Somebody trying to cheer her up. Again, sad melody. And again. Now together. Variation. The ending. And A prime embellished here. Until this part, we know it all because we've heard it before. What followed here was the octaves, which was the introduction to part B. Before this fantastic melody of the woman. Well, now we don't have it. Instead, we have the coda. Coda, which is the most difficult part for every pianist performing this piece, because now imagine we already play like 12 minutes or 13 minutes, and now we have a very difficult virtuosic fast coda which we have to play twice because it's repeated. Chopin made it repeated. But of course we love it. When we practice it, well, we love it, but at the beginning it's very hard, believe me. Anyway, the coda is very simple. it contains, let's say, three parts. We can say it's three parts. We have the main coda material is only two parts, but repeated. So 2 + 2, and then we have the final ending, fantastically written. What are these parts? First, we have the part which is also constructed in a kind of contrast mode. So we have the fanfares, like signals, the explosion of, and immediately after that we have something very joking, light and funny, and again. And then what we have after is just a pure showing of the technique of the right hand. And again, everything from the beginning. comes the real end. The energy of this ending is just genius, because Chopin is making it hotter, 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 hotter and hotter until it explodes completely in the end. While listening to the ending, there are at least 3 moments, or even maybe 4, when we want to clap because we think it's the end. It is the end, so we want the explosion of applause, right? Standing ovation. Well, it's not yet, and then Chopin is, you know, he is gradually making it. Not the end, not the end, not the end. We want it to end, but it not. And finally, there is the end. I show you how it's written. It is building. And now, not yet. And now, not yet. Not yet. Not yet. No. Not yet. And again, the Polonaise rhythm at the very end finish the whole piece. Ta-da-dum, bam, bam, and it's a huge explosion of happiness and really, I have to tell you, to play this piece in public, it's a challenge, but we love it. Pianists love it, the public love it, and it's one of the greatest masterpieces written by Chopin. But of course, we know Chopin mostly from his soulful and very touching music, deep music, or beautiful melodies, you know, nocturnos. But he was very diverse, very rich, and he also wrote some pieces brilliant like this Polonaise. I would love to play this piece for you in its entirety, but it's 15 minutes long. So instead of doing this, I will give you in the comments, in the subtitles, down this video, I will give you the link to my interpretation of this Polonaise live from Japan a few years back, so that you can enjoy the whole piece in my interpretation. But of course, I also invite you to listen to all the other interpretations on YouTube. There are plenty of them, because it's one of the most favorite pieces of most pianists, at least by Chopin. Thank you very much for being with me, for listening, and well, I invite you to my next videos about all the Polonaises, and also to previous ones if you don't know them. We already have all the waltzes, all mazurkas, and all the balladas done. Thank you very much, and see you again.